Boom.
I'm Cecile Maye from AckTao, and you're watching the Break Even Show.
Yes, the Break It Down show brings you Cecile May, and we have the lovely Sandra Ponce De Leon from Mexico. So we have Switzerland, Mexico, and the United States all broadcasting to you, bringing you some incredible female founders this week. And Cecile is the first one, and AckTao is, I'm going to let you tell us, what is AckTao and why is it important?
So, AckTao, the name comes from the Tao in action, and we are developing a solution which is putting the human at the core center of security topics. And we are promoting a safe and enthusiastic digital life through cyber awareness solutions that educate people while gaming.
And why gaming? Why is gaming a part of this?
Because gaming is more first motivating for people to get anchor the messages, and also it allows learning by doing, which increase the retention rate above 90%, whereas regular education tools, which are more passive, are usually around 15% retention rate.
That's a crazy number. I'm learning French through Duolingo right now, and I've tried a number of different programs, and it's gamifying the French learning process for me. And you're right. There's look, I have a little bit of background in French. I'm not completely new to the language, but it's doing it and it's inspiring me to do more. And it's sticking. But why is that? Like, why is it so much more powerful? I mean, we're talking, a massive difference from 15%.
Well, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not going to give you a very detailed answer on that. I think we will need some specialists, and maybe we have some listening to us who will be able to answer better. But what I can tell about that is that instead of going through all the reflection process in our brain, we go directly to the reactivity process. So we don't usually go all this process, we go faster, because when you learn how to do first, then when you have to repeat it, your brain doesn't need to think about that again. It has directly the answer because it did it already.
This is amazing. Hi, Cecile. It's Sandra. And this is great because I'm actually co-founder of a group called More Women in Crypto. And one of the things that we realized very early on was the way that we learn is very different, from male to female, from age group, from, where you actually come from. And one of the things that we found to be really important for us is to be able to come together in an IRL and in real life setting to be able to talk about these topics, especially around blockchain. And one of the things that's so necessary for blockchain and cryptocurrencies is security. It's really, one of the first things you should learn in order to be able to have, proper structure in terms of whenever you're opening up an account, a wallet, etc., because so many things can go wrong. So I appreciate that you're doing this, and I do see it as such a necessary function. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your story. How did you come to founding AckTao, and what's your background?
So my background is more in sales and marketing in luxury items, and I started in Europe, and then I had the chance to be able to work for a large company like Richemont, Cartier in the States, in Japan, in Hong Kong, and then in Switzerland. And after some times, I wanted to do something maybe more useful for the world and for our young generation. And I met my tech partner, Greg, and we decided to establish and launch this startup, because Greg is coming from gaming industry, but also he's a gray hat in cybersecurity, and he has this pedagogical pattern also. And we developed the solution together with neuroscientists as well as experts in cybersecurity. So we mixed all this different background, and in order to provide something very simple to use and very enthusiastic to learn, because it's all about making the things, doing, like, for example, you are in the office and your boss arrive and is telling you your password you have to remember if you want to be able to get into the room, and you are not sure, so you are writing that down on a notebook. But of course, this is all happening in our scenarios. But of course, to write it is not a good idea because everybody can read it. So once you are going through that kind of experience of doing the things, and you see in real time with the objective mention if you did it well or not, then you know exactly every time you do something if it's correct or not.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yes, I think just doing, because I think, yeah, with blockchain and with crypto, you have to have this heightened sense of security, and there is so many scams out there. It's so necessary to have those procedures in place. Who is your target customer? Is it the enterprise, or are you targeting the individual or small businesses?
So in fact, AckTao is designed in a way that it can address all type of people, whatever are their know-how. And we can target one person or a lot of people. But our first focus is on employees of large organizations who need to be trained massively, but in a personalized way. Because since the system adapts in real time to the level of the user, it will always deliver exactly what is necessary for the person to learn.
I wanted to go back a minute or two. You were talking about your collection of experts who helped you build this program. What does that look like? Who is the expert in gathering these people and putting together a viable product? I mean, there's a lot of things to sort out with this: the technology, the AI portion of the technology, the actual science behind the brain and how different people learn. And as Sandra has illustrated, different people learn differently, and gardeners intelligent. Oh my gosh, it becomes this big huge pile of things. Who shepherds that, and how does that work?
So the chief shepherd is my partner Greg Roy, who is among the top specialists in cloud streaming technology. And gaming, of course, but the cloud streaming technology, with recent progress which has been done, allow that kind of solution to emerge today. But there are very few to master this solution. So he knows exactly what he needs in terms of architecture, design of the solution, and we is organizing the team and the expert he need according to the progress he is doing with the solution while coding with his team. So in fact, he has a very efficient and small team with who they are working very closely. And then he goes and bring back the expertise he needs every time they are passing a level. Does it make sense for you?
I'd like to just dig into that. Is it based, do individuals have to take some kind of survey ahead of time or profile to let you know what their learning patterns are, and what is that based on? I mean, there's a lot these days around human design and Myers-Briggs, and I think I took the Strengths Finders many years ago. So is there a combination of leveraging that type of work into personalities and motivating factors behind different personalities that you're taking into account?
Alors, the solution is very easy to access. It's like Netflix platform. You access it in one click, just entering your email and password. So it's really open to everybody because it's AckTao, anytime, anywhere, any content, any device. So the solution is made in a way that it's very easy to access. And then the first scenario the user will do will allow the system to understand the level, his level. And then it will calibrate all the other scenario according to this level. And the user, the more he will do the same scenario, he will go into different stories because his level will have changed. Because one scenario allows from basic to advanced level. So every time he will go back to the same scenario, he will have new things coming to him and he will learn more in depth. So it's like a narrative. It's really like a Netflix series, The first scenario is something of a potpourri, a little bit of everything which is happening. And then after, you will have the same character coming back to you in different scenarios, in different environment. It will be at home, it can be in the train, it can be in the street, it can be in the office, it can be in the airport. I mean, it's a very wide variety, mimicking what is real life. And it's very immersive because, like in real life, you will have to react with your phone, or you will have to react with character coming to you, or into a situation where you listen people talking next to you and you have some objective to understand what they are saying. And for example, it's a very good way to make you understand that when you are in open space, you have to be careful what you say because every other people are listening to that. So it's really trying to make it very wide and comprehensive. But what is important is that you don't need any skill to come into that kind. That's the reason why the solution is very appreciated of large organization, is because anybody can do it.
I want to ask you a little bit more about you and your founding story. We're featuring female founders because the CES show that you guys all just went to, and that was the way it was presented to me, and I love that. But do you consider yourself a female founder, or are you just a founder and CEO? Just how important is the female role in what you do?
That's a tricky question.
I don't want to be tricky. I'm just curious in how you look at it. Like, do you have a bigger responsibility because you're a female, or not? I mean, is this your job to be great at your job? Is your job to be great at being a woman doing your job?
I think I feel very well being a woman in that kind of industry. I have no issue with that, first. Yeah. Second, I think maybe, we have maybe this way to look at the thing more with a different attention. For me, what is important is to be able to onboard as many people as possible, especially young generation, in that it's not a question of business, it's more a question of mission. Of course, business is important, and I'm looking at that because otherwise we will not have investors, we will not have that kind of people who make us grow our company. Of course, this is something important, but it's more than that. It's really how to build up a safer world, how to have this environment which allow people to have a digital life, creative, and make it possible for them to do what they have to do on their digital life. So it's something I'm really engaged in. I'm dedicating a lot of my energy on that. So I don't know if it's really related to the fact that I am a woman, and I don't feel that we have to fight for anything more than what we have. So let me formulate it in another way. I think now we are lucky enough in our position today to access or to be seen as a man or as a woman same level. I don't feel so much difference. What I feel is that in the world there is still a lot of progress to make, to have everywhere that kind of possibility as a woman to have this chance. So I think it's more like that.
I was leaving space for you, Sandra.
Yeah, no, I thank you for that. I think it was a great question, and it's something that I often have to, think about myself. But I think the representation, what you just started with, Pete, I think is, something that is important as a female, is that, we are, that there are more women like Cecile, like myself, in executive positions and founder positions, that other young girls and women that are starting their careers in technology and that and careers that are more generally male dominated see that representation. So I love what Cecile had to say. I think it's important to what's important is that you're passionate about the mission, and the mission is safety and security. And that's important for the younger generation as they come into and adopt these technologies.
When you look at AckTao and where you guys are headed, will you stay in the safety and security field, or will your training programs expand to other areas?
So that's a good question, and this is something I was discussing at the CES with a person from Cisco, Anne Hardy, and I think education while gaming is a new trend, and it's really something which is starting to have a real impact in today's life for most of the people, especially when you are in remote area, you don't have necessarily access to normal education. And also when you want to have access to certain topics and certain content, which is not always next to you as a person. So I think digital education and gaming is a very interesting impact on today's education. So we can address any topics with this solution at AckTao. We have to focus first on something if we want to deliver, and we decided to focus on cybersecurity issue because they are a major threat to our economy and our democracy. And this is for me a little bit of the basic of what you need to learn when you are living in the 21st century today.
Absolutely. Are there some interesting insights or learnings that you've had along the way? Like what do we most need to learn, or what are our most common failures when it comes to security?
Well, this is always the basic topics which are of course, your data. I mean, you have to be careful not to leave all the things open in all the platforms. So you for example, you can use payment which are secure, but also you can try to minimize them with a special card, which is not something you use for everything, that is easy to cancel or if it's hacked. Also your information, but also password and this kind of phishing mail, which are really very, very bad today, because even though in a company they are lowering the percentage of failure, you just need one to be able to access to all the system of your company. So it's, to have this kind of attitude where nothing is given for granted, and nothing you do in your life, in your digital life, is not sought. So you always have to move very carefully, like in real life when you are in an environment which is not something you can trust. You always have to be very careful about every step you do, what you click, what you put, and what you give. So it's really that kind of level you need to do. Then after, I will say social engineering is the most important one, because it's interaction with the device and the people, which are the most where there is the more potential for you to be trapped.
Yeah, what would you say would be like one tip that we should take away? Like, for example, I've heard recently, do not use free Wi-Fi, like at the airport. That's a very dangerous thing, that you should be only connecting via a VPN. Do you have recommendations of that nature that we should all really just take into account for our own, cyber security and making sure that we're staying safe?
Yeah, and I totally understand what you say, and you're totally right about that. I will say that coming from the CES, I would like to do another type of recommendation, is that it was the explosion of IoT, in connected device. And this connected device, it's going to go from your toothbrush to your fridge to your door, carpet, that kind of things. But most of these devices are not secure at all. So be very careful when you buy a device like that, or when you have also that kind of device at home who help you perform all type of things, like put the music, search for a cooking recipe, because they are also spying on you. So I will say, be very careful when you buy that kind of device, because they are not necessarily your friend, and they can be very the source of attack, and also data collection, because through this device, hackers can come in, because they are not safe, and come in and get all your data, because all the devices are connected.
Yeah, that's terrifying when you think about that. And you're right, Sandra, that hooking up to the airport Wi-Fi is such a bad idea, especially when your phone, most phones now have a hotspot where you can at least stay within your own network. It's a little bit crazy. I wanted to ask about so when I'm doing Duolingo and I'm learning to parle français, I I get a little addicted because the gamification part, I get a little competitive. I don't like to lose in my league. And so I end up having to go, Pete, put the damn phone down and go do your next task. And so I'm forcing myself to stop learning because I have other things I have to do. Do you guys have like a mechanism that says, hey, employee 10, you should stop working on safety and security and go do your actual job?
Interesting. So actually, the scenarios, they are designed in a way that they will, it will be 5 to 10 minutes, no longer. So you can do more scenarios, the one behind it, but a theme will be maybe altogether 30 minutes to 1 hour, no more when you put them together. So I guess you can do them all, but after a while you will be, I think, bored. But we do have email, and the manager can as well manage this email and make the users aware of some aspect he would like them to know, like, for example, go back to work if they think that they are spending too much money, because the reporting is quite detailed and granular. So the manager knows exactly if he needs to do something specific in order to make the experience better for the user.
Yeah, that's great.
We lost you, Pete.
I'm still here. I'm having some technical troubles today.
No
I'll
problem.
be right back. Go ahead and ask the question, Sandra.
Yeah. Are you guys already in market? Are you already working with companies, and are you a global service?
So we are global. It's definitely we are multilingual, and we are already working with client partners in the finance industry, in the luxury industry, in defense also, and government. And they help us get the solution as close to their need as possible. So we are really delivering the best for them. And we will be able to launch I will say, if everything goes well, by mid of this year, we'll be able to launch the social engineering theme. And we want to speed up as much as possible, because clients are already waiting for the solution that we are producing. So we decided to go and into investment fundraising campaign. And this is what we are doing now to accelerate our time to market.
That's exciting. It's good to have customers lined up saying, hurry up and get us a product. When you look at marketing and you have this reality of people lined up at the door, and you look at marketing, how does that impact your decision as a CEO and in terms of marketing approaches?
So that's a very good question as well, because I had that not so long ago. And we had this brainstorming inside AckTao. And in fact, what makes sense for us is to try to do some marketing which makes sense for others. And all the idea will be for the marketing to be able to develop special education for young generation, at school, and try to promote that kind of security life into all the environment where kids are learning by gaming, So it can be at school, but it can be also among each other, or in specific activities they will do after school. And we would like to make that available for any structure who are working with young generation. So our marketing will be to promote our company through that kind of education program for young generation. So make it useful, because as you know, marketing budget can be big in that kind of digital company when you start to scale up. And we wish it will be.
And then you can have a scenario, we have the young people teaching their elders how to perform proper security. I'm curious as to, what are some, I mean, obviously gaming is big and blockchain, and I see a lot of growth in the GameFi area. What are some of the other larger megatrends that you see in the industry that, are impacting or positively impacting your business?
So I think artificial intelligence is really something which is going to impact our business. And why that is because the graal for any EdTech platform is to be able to auto-generate content according to the level and the needs of the user. And this is something we are already starting to work at. And we are lucky enough to be located at the Polytechnic School, University of Lausanne. So we have access to very high level of researcher and professor in that regard. So we are part of the EdTech Collider of the EPFL. And as such as well, we have a community of researcher who can help us on this specific topic. So besides that, the megatrends, I will say, is the digitalization of the world. I mean, everything is becoming digital today, meaning that our life is made in a way to simplify our life, but we just need to master it, understand, and master it if we want to have profitable digital life. So, and then, I will say that's, for what I can see, is the main aspect of big trends coming, and what I could also see at the CES when I was there earlier 10 days ago.
When you look at the marketplace, obviously AI has erupted in the last, since the new year. I mean, the ChatGPT thing has just gone everywhere. And so when we say AI now, a lot of us think about ChatGPT and images being created. How is your AI different than what that is doing? Because these are different things that you guys are trying to accomplish.
Definitely. I mean, on our side, what we are looking at is to collect the information in order to put together a storytelling that will make sense for the user to use in order to better understand, and as such, better remember what he needs to remember. And that will come from the collective intelligence which we will get from the AI technology. ChatGPT is something different, which is more based on collecting information on specific words you will give, and trying to put something which, a narrative which is which has how you say that, makes sense, a narrative which is, but it can be totally wrong. So you have to be careful with that as well, as it has been already. A lot of people has been able to use ChatGPT and has seen the limit of the system. But I think it's a fabulous tool as well for many people. And we are understanding that it might replace platform like Google as well. We'll see.
It strikes me, so when people talk about, like, you're in Europe, you're in Switzerland and the European market, but the distance between San Diego and Virginia is 2,500 miles. The difference between Switzerland and Jerusalem is 2,500 miles. these things aren't far apart. So how does that impact your global approach? And does Africa play in as well as parts of Asia like Israel?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Sorry.
When you look at the marketplace, right? So you're so close to Africa and Asia in terms of continents. They aren't that far away. How does that impact your marketing decision? Because you're at you're in the belly button of the world. You have all of these places that are around you that have wildly different marketplaces.
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of personalization which can be made. That's the reason why we have designed our solution in a way that common knowledge is shared by everybody on the cloud, on the web. It's not different the way you connect to the web or the way you are going to access to platform, whether you are in Africa, in Japan, or in States. It's the same process. But of course, the cognitive sense way and also all these little, I'm looking for the word, social engineering things are different. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason why we, in every scenario we have made, we have quite in-depth personalization aspect. You can enter into it as a manager before delivering it to your team. So in order to make it as immersive and close to what you are used to as possible in terms of content, in terms of logos, and also side information, and as well as location. So you can have the scenario either in Geneva or Johannesburg or Tel Aviv. We have this capacity to really display something which is familiar for you as a user. Then after, I think the more we will develop, the more capacity we will have to enrich with new experience and new situation which will emerge from emerging threats as well, and that's also why we are happy to have our developers in-house, because we can come up with new scenarios and themes ahead of emerging threats. Like, for example, we are already working on quantum scenario, because this is something which is going to come soon. But don't ask me question about that, because for the moment is still confidential.
That's great. It's blowing my mind how much quantum is starting to enter the conversation as a thing that we're about to start experiencing. So I won't ask you about your stuff, but when we look around the marketplace, Sandra, you must experience this too. We're talking not only about blockchain, but quantum things are becoming practical tools that are in development right now.
Yeah, I mean, I actually just heard about this with regards to quantum physics being used for one of the technology partners that we're working with here in Tulum. So yes, it's all starting, it's all exploding. ChatGPT is going to take all of our jobs as marketers and even coders. But yeah, no, I love the fact that what you're doing has a hybrid, and I think that's really the answer for everything in the future is how do we adjust ourselves and start to see these as tools rather than as replacements. So, but yeah, it's all moving so fast. But yeah, I'm like curious, to me, this seems like a no-brainer that you learn, that things stick in your mind, the more that you actually do them. If you're incentivized to do them, if there's a fun aspect, it's just going to sink in, that much deeper and be a behavior that is ingrained in terms of, proper standards for security. And is this something that you see as a future for education, this combination of the AI plus the gamification aspect of it?
Well, that's what is interesting with the future, is that everything you try to foresee, it happens in another way. So I mean, for me, it's more a question of being able to adapt to what is coming on the spot, and it is, when you think about how we have evolved in our long history as nature but human, it was always a capacity to find the best answer to to change in our life. And this what we are trying to develop at AckTao. It's more this capacity to understand what is coming, and try to deliver what makes sense in front of that, but without wasting time or making it too complicated. We really want to do things in a very natural and but of course it demands a lot of work and understanding behind. So it's more the capacity to develop our resilience and have capacity to bring the right tools at the right moment.
Yeah, boy, if you can figure out right tools at the right moment, that is incredible. When you look at your company, there's so much to do, so many hats that you all have to wear. What keeps you up at night?
Oh,
It's a soft question, nice and easy.
yeah, well, I will say that for me, it is always been, to stick to the value which makes sense and for me, it's always been to be at peace and try to give the best you can and trust, and as well trust people you work with, and also be able to understand and be as possible as you can understandable. I don't know how you say that in English, but
Clear.
we are a community. We are a community of people, and we cannot live alone. So we have to be comprehensive between each other in order to bring the best. That's what I think is. So this is how you live with that values, and this is the most important for me, is to be in this type of mindset, give chance, try your best, and make the things happening. It's what Saint-Exupéry was saying somewhere. It's we don't need to forecast the future. What we need is to make it happen.
I love that, and that is so true. I think having your values clear and being able to have those communicated and accepted across the team, like that's just where it all begins. And then always having clear communication from there is so important. At least from my perspective, from a marketing perspective, it's one of the most important things, because that continues to keep that alignment, going forward through that action, which is so important.
Yeah, and things evolve with time. I mean, it's not the way I was thinking at the beginning of my career. Maybe, I don't know if it's the same for you, Sandra, but for me, I was more very much in a hurry to prove myself and to achieve a lot of things. And then with time and experience, you feel that you really need to be in harmony with what the people surrounding you, and trust and give responsibility, but at the same time be responsible as well.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think for me that the shift became when, it was about, I've had so many years of experience in Silicon Valley in marketing for startups and doing, technical work, or work that maybe it wasn't necessarily something I was super passionate about. And then at one point you just get to a place in your career and you say, what is this for? What am I leaving the world? And, you know, it really made me completely shift into a different direction and of wanting to, you know, leave humanity in a better place and you know, make my nieces proud of the things that, you know, their auntie is involved with. It sounds like Pete is having a few technical issues, so we can just keep, you know, discussing and talking about, you know, your challenges as a CEO. Like what has been, you know, one of your bigger challenges in this journey here with AckTao, and how have you overcome that?
Well, I will say that, you know, when you build the thing brick by brick, things are happening in a more natural way. But of course, I think one of the main challenge we have is that gaming platform industry in cloud streaming is that we are talking about big budget. And if we want to be able to address large organization, they need to have very well thought and developed solution. They will not go if it's not perfect in their eyes. So it means that it needs a lot of financial resources, and it's been able to comply with that. I mean, be able to find the financial resources we need at every different level, because the team we have, the know-how we have, the client we have, it's just taking time to be able to develop a solution like that. I mean, a game is, we are talking about several more than 10 to 20 million in general when we are developing a game, you know, on cloud streaming platform. And with AckTao, we managed to do it at a lower budget, but of course we still need to provide that kind of finance behind. And investors don't always understand why do we have to spend so much money on that? And this is not something which is so clear for them. And this has been the biggest challenge for us, I will say. And the second challenge now for us is to be able to deliver our clients that they will get access to our platform. And I was happy at the CES to see that our solution is really something big company are looking at, because we were lucky enough to speak with, you know, security people from Amazon, from Accenture, from Cisco, from Deloitte, even from the FBI. And all of them mentioned that it was exactly what they were looking at, and they were very eager to see the solution completed in order to be able to try it and see if it makes sense for their team. But none of them say we are not interested. So that's where I see our challenge is to be able to deliver this in a near future. And we are almost there. I mean, it's 4 years we are coding now, and we are almost there. But we need to finalize this round we are doing in order to be able to cover the 12 next months of cash flow we need in order to be able to deliver the client in a very good surrounding situation and environment.
Yeah, I think that's a very common challenge in the early days of a startup life. I've lived through it quite a bit. But yeah, it sounds like maybe you also need to do an AckTao quiz for the investors so that they can understand exactly how much development and work it takes to get to where you guys are, and what's still needed. Somewhat unjust in saying that.
Definitely.
Yes. Pete, you're back with us. Oh, but
Pete,
you're
we don't
mute.
hear.
You're on mute. You're on mute, Pete. Hello? 1 second. Okay. Keep on. Sorry, did you want to say something?
Yeah, not to come back to what I was saying. Yes, of course, it's the startup life.
Hello. All right. I'm back.
Very good. Happy that we have you with us.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. So I'd love to wrap up and find out any last questions you have at all, Sandra.
No, I mean, we were just talking about the challenges of, the next 12 months, I think, and what's very common across the board for many startups is, having to focus on funding to be able to scale the business, to be able to, continue to service clients. So yeah, and then, just, I think, any tips that you would have for other founders out there in overcoming some of these obstacles, or some of the harder parts of being an entrepreneur?
Well, there is one thing. I mean, I see a lot of young entrepreneurs starting their own startup, and I'm very happy to see them and see this eagerness, and they are very enthusiastic about making it happen. But what I would like to tell them is be careful, because I see a lot of them also which are ending up in burnout. So you really have to be careful about the way you spend your energy, and you have to be prepared to go for a long run, and you have to be prepared to have a lot of deception, So please make sure that it doesn't hurt you, because this is so important.
Absolutely, that's very true, and also, will help you in, keep in mind what you said earlier about being adaptive and being able to respond to change quickly. And I think that this is also, what your software does for everyone that uses it, is enabling that flexibility and adaptability that we all have to adapt to this new world that's coming, like it or not. So we need to go through this schooling system that AckTao has.
And accept the risk, because there is risk all the time. I mean,
Yes.
when it's not something, it's something else. So you always have to confront, and you always have to make the most of what you have, because anyway, you will never have everything you need. So it's really the capacity to face the things and find the best solution, even though it's not exactly the way you wanted it, but it has to roll out, it has to continue. So you need always to find your way to be able to go through it, and if you cannot, then start again. I mean, game over, start again. It's what we say all the time.
Just keep learning. That's right.
Yeah, and try pushing, because at the end, determination is so important in a startup world and any things you are doing anyway, and patience and resilience, but also fun. You really need, every morning you wake up, you really need to know why you are waking up and you're going to enter into this new day, because if you don't have this fire, it's no need to do that. You really need to feel it, and feel it in every little cells of yourself, to be able to give the best of yourself all the time. You cannot complain. You cannot sit like that. I mean, you keep moving, and you need to always be enthusiastic for the others and for yourself. We don't hear you, Pete.
The threat for security is always evolving. They're always ahead of the plan, the training, because they're just coming up with these new ways. And it's ingenious what they've come up with. I mean, someone tried to run a scam on me from my bank. They got a hold of me and they said, hey, someone's actively stealing your money right now. This is the bank. This is my bank calling me. And I'm like, holy cow. And so, you know, they were just about into my bank account because it was so real what they were doing. And then at the last minute, the guy said, now I just need your PIN. And I'm like, yeah, that ain't going to work. But that security training that I'd had somewhere in there triggered something and enabled me to get past the emotional state they had me in and go, hey, I'm not giving you my PIN ever, So that training part does work, even if they're ahead of you on the bait. Hopefully, there's some value in like what you guys are creating for future threats as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's what we are trying to do. But what you said about your experience, it is not only on digital. I mean, you can have also threats in the physical world. You can have people coming to you trying to steal information from you in the physical world in order to install malware or to find, information they need to put together in the puzzle they are creating for an attack. So you have to be careful every time you detect something which doesn't really make sense, and challenge the things around you all the time.
Yeah, it really is. There's a scam that was going on here in the United States where they would call a mother and say, "We have your daughter," and it was so powerful that they would. It was getting thousands and thousands of dollars because you didn't for 1 second want to put your kid in harm. And so people were Western Unioning money and everything. And this was working. And I don't know what they've done to stop it other than to say, you have to develop some kind of countermeasure for these kinds of things. But how terrifying is that?
But this is not coming from recently. I mean, I remember when I was a young woman also, my mother had the same call and digital was not existing. So yeah. I think they just adapt the old recipe to the new tools. But it's always been like that. I mean, and my mother get frantic when she got this call because we didn't have phone, to call each other. So yeah, that's the kind of things which happen in for centuries, and you have to be careful.
Yeah, and you can literally put a tracker on someone's car, so you can say, "You're now by the McDonald's. I want you to make a left." And like in real time. That's the digital aspect of it, and that's one of the things they were able to do was say, "We see you," as the person is navigating through life. I know it's just crazy. Anyhow, listen, I don't want to get distracted by that. What you guys are doing, awesome. You guys are called AckTao. Anything in closing before we wrap this up, Cecile?
It was really nice to have this conversation, and I hope I didn't say too many silly things. And that was, of course, a pleasure to be able to be with you, Sandra and Pete. And anything I'm happy to answer on my email, cm@actao.com, or through you or whatsoever. And looking forward to our next episode somewhere, maybe in Switzerland next time.
Oh, you can talk me into that, or we can go down into LA down here and get you out in the sunshine somewhere too. So either way, it would be great to have you back on. Stand by, both of you. I'm going to shut the show down.
Thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours truly. Thank you so much for watching the Break It Down Show.